This is the magicwordpodcast.com.
Hello, this is Scott Wells for the magicwordpodcast.com. Today's podcast is going to be with Randy Pitchford, and this is a pretty exciting podcast, and I was elated to receive a phone call from one of my listeners, and I appreciate each and every one of you suggesting different people that you would like to hear me talk to during this podcast. In this particular case, this fellow had tipped me off to something that might be of interest to the rest of you, having to do with Genii Magazine. I'm not going to tip it here, but I'm going to let you listen and learn as we go. And you might be surprised as well to hear what's going on. But there are several things that Randy talks about having to do with his connection to his uncle, Richard Valentine Pitchford, who, of course, was better known as Cardini. And as a descendant of Cardini's, he has acquired much of his collection, and it's interesting to see what he has done with this and how he plans to use this. And also, he is a magician himself, having performed at the Magic Castle, and, well, I'm getting way ahead of myself. As I mentioned, I want to thank all my listeners for their suggestions, and also that if you have any further suggestions of who you would like for me to chat with, and you'd like to hear their side of the story and a little bit more about their lives, then please feel free to send an email to me. That is at scott@themagicwordpodcast.com. And also, if you want to become a friend of the Magic Word, I suggest that you go to the magicwordpodcast.com website, and there you can learn how that you can contribute to make a financial pledge to help this ongoing effort that we try to post these podcasts every week. And when we're at magic conventions, of course, we have daily updates. And you can help us to defray our expenses because this is all offered to you and by you. So this really is kind of national, not national public radio, but I guess national magic radio. There you go. And matter of fact, I call it international magic radio. How about that? IMR, new acronym. Anyhow, so I appreciate each and every one of you and for your response to all of the podcasts we've had, in particular, obviously, with the Gregory Wilson series on the Magic Serial. We've had just a ton of people who have been listening and tuning in, and I appreciate all of you, and I hope that you're encouraged to continue to listen to podcasts like this one we're going to be having with Randy Pitchford. And compliments of Randy, he is going to be offering something really exciting, some piece of Cardini memorabilia. In particular, he is offering a Podo card, which is one of the manipulation cards used by Cardini actually in his act. If you go to our website at themagicwordpodcast.com, you can enter the contest, and we'll tell you more about this at the tail end of the podcast, and also announce the winner of the Ted Outerbridge lecture bundle. For all of those who have entered the contest, I thank all of you. We've had several dozen people who have replied and entered the contest, and unfortunately there's only one winner, and we'll be announcing that winner at the end of this podcast. So don't turn it off just because the Randy's portion is over. You get to hear who it is that wins, and also details on how that you can win a special collector's edition that's a one-of-a-kind kind of a thing that Randy is offering. So let me just back out of the way and let you listen to our conversation here today with Randy Pitchford here on The Magic Word. Hello, this is Scott Wells for The Magic Word Podcast, and today I have with me my guest, Mr. Randy Pitchford. Hi there, Randy.
Hi, thanks for having me, Scott.
Hey, you're welcome. It's good to be had, huh? So, I know, yeah. Ba-boom.
Depends on how you're had, right?
That's right. Speaking of old jokes and old magic, I understand you used to work at the Magic Castle out in Hollywood a lot, like as a youth.
Yeah, I've performed there a couple of times, and I've spent a lot of time there.
Yeah.
My regular gig when I lived in Hollywood was at a nightclub called Wizards, which was on the Universal City Walk, and that was a lot of fun.
I remember Wizards. Was that Fred? What was his name?
Fred Wood.
Fred Wood,
Yeah,
yes.
One of the greatest bosses I ever had.
Yeah. You must work with a lot of guys. It's kind of funny because I was just this last week in South Lake Tahoe and I was talking with Tony Clark, and he was talking about working at Wizards.
That's right. He used to work there a lot.
And you worked with him then too?
Yeah, Tony was his act was he had the Dove Act at the time. It was outstanding, and he would often he would often perform in the stage. The Wizards was a great place. There was a bar where close-up magicians like myself would stroll and do close-up magic. There was a gift shop, and I spent most of my time working down there selling magic.
Yeah.
And then there was a dinner theater where guests could come, have dinner, and see a live show. And the live show was great, booking some of the best acts from around the world to come in and perform for the people there.
How did that differ from the Magic Island down Newport Beach?
There's some similarities to it. I think there was probably a lot of lessons learned there and borrowed in the development of Wizards.
Mm-hmm. Because the island was there first, and then Wizards came later.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Some of the same people had some involvement in both, actually.
In the development of all that.
Yeah.
I worked regularly here at the Magic Island in Houston for a long number of years, one of the house magicians, and in fact had closed it after 2008 when they had the hurricane come through. That my wife and I were doing our stage show, and they called us on the Friday and said, hey, we're going to be closed tonight because of the hurricane. We'll see if it's going to be open tomorrow. And as it happened the next day, of course, they were closed that night. The next day, there was a fire because of some water that had leaked into the fluorescent lights outside, and they never have reopened since. In fact, you remember Scott Hollingsworth? You know Scotto, I guess.
Yeah.
And he used to be the one who booked at the Magic Island. And in fact, I just talked with him today, and he was saying that still yet to this day that people are still asking him, when is this place going to open? They still think it's going to reopen. It'd be great if it does.
It was a great establishment. There's opportunity there for sure. It takes people and it takes resources. So hopefully the people that have the power to do it somehow have the will and the resources so that can happen again.
Well, the amazing thing is right now, of course, that they still have all of the cool posters and the ephemera, all the rest of some props and things that were part of Dr. Albo's collection that I don't even know if his heirs know that it's still there on the walls.
It's interesting.
Yeah. Now, when you were doing magic, is your specialty close-up, or do you like stage, parlor, or what do you?
I like close-up.
Yeah.
The most. There's something about that intimate interaction with the audience that is part of why I did it. I think there's probably something wrong with all of us where we're getting as much out of our audience as they're getting out of us.
Yeah, we love doing it. Yeah, no question.
And I really love that interaction. And there's something as I started to get good, as I was really spending a lot of time with sleight of hand, you get to a certain level where, especially when you're strolling, where a lot of the stuff you do just becomes like jazz routines, and it keeps it interesting. When I would have a really tight and rehearsed act, it's fun, but after you do that act, even just a few dozen times, you start to get so autopilot.
Exactly.
That it's less exciting, it's less interesting. But, in strolling, you can get yourself into real trouble, and it's fun to get yourself out of it in a way where the audience thinks they just had the best time ever, and that was what the plan was all along.
You have a very interesting point there, and sometimes it's hard to keep it fresh. Whenever that you've done it so many times, particularly in one night, when you're going to group to group to group, and you're doing, invisible deck or ambitious card or whatever type of a thing, and before long it's kind of like you're using the same lines and everything, and you got to have that same smile. It has to be fresh, as if that you're saying it for the first time. Exactly.
I got to a point when I was doing a rehearse act where I'd purposely have parts of it that I wouldn't script. I'd leave just a little bit extemporaneous, and it really didn't add much to the planning of the performance. But when I'm doing it, I had to actually think about those parts, and it kept me engaged in the performance, and I think it made it feel a little more special for the audience.
Did you feel as if that you are best, or were, or are best at cards or coins or rubber bands, a little bit of impromptu? What kind of specialty?
I like cards and coins. I think there's some things I can do with coins that I haven't seen other people be able to do, and so I don't think that my magic in coins was better for lay people. Mm-hmm. But I think for magician audiences, I think they probably would find more respect in my coin work than anything else, just because I got so good at some of it. And some of the things I was doing was pretty difficult and pretty rare, things you don't see every day. Was it because of the sleight of hand that you're using, as far as being able to palm and coin stars and things? Or I was able to do a lot of pretty difficult concealments, and I did this one routine with coins where I had to instantly and secretly classic palm 3 silvers and then release them one at a time
without them talking.
Without them talking, and with just in the course of about 45 seconds through those reveals. When you're classic palming 3 silver coins close up, and you're releasing them one at a time, and your routine depends on that. You've got to be able to nail that every time.
Wow. That does take a lot of practice. I'd rather use shells rather than use the real things.
I have every coin gimmick known to man, but all of my working routines were just straight up legit stuff. No gaffes. It's just, especially when you're strolling, it's easier to be able to be ungaffed, so you can be really impromptu.
Well, that's true. You really don't have to put anything back together. You don't have to nest your coins again or whatever. You just reach in your pocket and boom, you're ready.
Yeah, no reset. Also, I was able to do a lot of my routines with borrowed objects, which is really strong.
And now, when you did, not everyone has silver dollars, so I guess you said you have a quarter or something?
Everyone's got quarters, though. So.
Yeah. Do you ever do, I guess you would do like a cigarette and quarter or something
like
that?
No, with a borrowed corner, I had a coins across routine where I could do 3 or 4. I had 2 different routines, one for 3 quarters, one with 4 quarters. I could do with quarters. That was great. It was nonstop.
What was one of your favorite card tricks you like to do?
I love card in the pocket plots, and I do. David Williamson had a method for getting the deck into the pocket, just for the sleight that he would do to cop the deck. And I still use that. It's so solid. And I've been doing it for so long that that is almost all timing and body language and misdirection to really sell it. And I used to do that one so much that it just became second nature for me. I like an ambitious plot. I got really good at classic forcing, so I love doing repeat classic forces where the different spectators keep picking the same lucky card, and that feels impossible when you're getting a card classic forced on you multiple times.
Right. There was a trick that you had incorporated in a talk you did, I think, at the Dice in 2013. I saw a video which I'm going to post on the blog here, and that was a gimmick deck, but sold the point.
That was mental photography. Yeah.
Yeah, but it sold the point. You use that as an instructional kind of a thing.
Yeah, I didn't want to. In that context, I wasn't really spending a lot of time doing something big in the room. I discovered at the last minute the room was such where what I was going to do wouldn't have been visible to people. So I had a mental photography deck with me, and I kind of very quickly changed what I was going to do to use that instead, because even people 30 yards back can see when the cards have ink and when they're blank when you use a mental photography deck. So that was really kind of an audible I called about 10 minutes before I started that talk to use the mental photography deck there.
Did you have an idea that you're going to do a card trick at all, or you just happened to think?
I was going to actually do an ambitious routine there that was a little better tied into my talk. It still worked. What was cool about it, I don't know, I haven't watched the video, but I do mental photography in reverse, and I start by showing them blank, then make them appear, and then make them blank again, and I've got a pretty good sleight there for that final that final transition, that final color change that I think it looks really good in close-up, but I think it worked well in that environment.
Did you ever lecture to magicians?
Yeah, a couple of times back. I was a member of Ring 21 of the International Brotherhood of Magicians there in Hollywood, and we met at that church like a block away from the Magic Castle there, and I did a couple lectures there over the years.
And so you were brought up in Hollywood, so that's why you hung out at the castle, I guess, all the time.
Yeah, I actually moved down there. I went to UCLA, but I grew up on the Central Coast of California, and I joined the academy and spent all my time at the Magic Castle the moment I turned 21, and it was great time, very fortunate.
And you did work doing close-up, I guess you said there a couple of times. And
and I also there was a couple of stage guys where I would play a role in their act and help them out. There was a guy, I can't even remember his name, a guy with a juggling act, and I played a straight man for him and in his act for a bit. I spent a lot of time at the Magic Castle. In fact, my wife and I got married there.
Oh, really?
In '97, and they didn't do weddings and they didn't do private parties back then. And they were really nice to us. They basically let us take over the place, use the stage, use all the rooms, use the dining room, and we just did the whole thing. And all we paid for was the food.
What were some of your favorite memories that you recall? I'm sure Vernon was towards the end of his life, or had he already moved from the castle?
He was. I just caught him. That guy was a character. I remember once. I can't remember who was performing. It's probably good that I don't, because the kid probably shouldn't have been in the close-up room.
Yeah.
When I say kid, he was older than me. He's probably in his late 20s. But he was doing some hack stuff, and he was flashing a lot. And Vernon actually just called him out during his performance.
In the show, in the close-up room.
In the show. Like, just, what are you doing, kid? You're flashing. Something like that. And I was holy shit.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
No, that'd be horrible.
Calling you out, you just go away somewhere and curl up and die. There was. I'll tell you, there was a lot of cool folks. When I joined, I hid my last name. I used the stage name Randy Stewart because I didn't want to trade on
the Pitchford name.
Cardini's credibility, Richard Pitchford. I didn't want to trade on his credibility as I was trying to build my own credibility. Mm-hmm. And that was a good strategy, but a few people figured it out. And one of the things that was really neat for me is I don't know if you knew Billy McComb, but
very well. Yes, I did.
He was a nice guy.
He was.
And he was really nice to me well before he knew that I was related to Cardini. Like, he had no idea. And he showed me a bunch of stuff, and he was just really a nice guy, and told me stories about the history and stuff. And
because he knew him personally way back when.
Well, but he was nice to me before he knew, and when he found out, he actually was I think he was joking, but I think it was half truth. He was a little mad at me for not telling him, because I
could imagine him.
He and Richard apparently were close.
Yeah.
And then I got a whole bunch of other great stories from Billy.
Like what? Give me one or two.
He told me about this this routine that Richard would do. It was a sleight of hand routine. It was a close up routine that he would do that he never had in his act with silver dollars and silks, and Billy was kind of fumbling through it. I don't think he quite remembered it, but he was telling me some of the things that he did, and I just like, oh my God, this is gold. And I built a new routine out of that. And there was this other guy that I used to work with at Wizards, a guy named Paul David, brilliant close-up guy. Mm-hmm. Nobody knows who he is. The dude's one of the best you'll ever see if you ever get a chance to see him.
Don't know him.
Nobody does. The guy's unbelievable, though. And then he knew the routine. And so we were able to put it back together again. And then I changed it up and did it in reverse, and I adapted it to my style and look at the time. But what a gift to be able to get this routine that was probably dead forever, and it was just through a memory and a story. I should probably write that one down.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's okay for lay people. And I have a suspicion that somebody must have it somewhere. I should probably ask some of the bookworms at the Magic Castle, show it to them, and see if any of the Academy guys might know that it might have been published somewhere. I would never want to take credit for it. It could very well be that Richard created it, or it could be that it was something borrowed and adapted from something else back in that era. But either way, it's a really great routine.
Yeah, I think it's important that you jot things down, because you never know. Of course, we're talking right now, and within the last week, that unfortunately Irene Larson had died. And,
what a week! What a week! Irene was one of my favorite people in the world.
I'm sure she was.
My wife, Irene's my wife's role model. My wife wants to just everything about a character. That's the kind of person my wife wants to be. And what a loss. And so surprising and sudden. We're building this house in where I work here in Frisco, Texas, and we're building basically a model of Brookledge Theater in this house. Mm-hmm. And Erica's been out as we were working on it, and she came. Erica Larson came out, and she actually produced a show for us here
Wow.
in Dallas with some of the Brookledge cast of the latest Brookledge Follies, and Irene found a roll of the wallpaper that they have in the bathrooms at the Magic Castle.
Oh yeah, because I thought that was completely out of print. They no longer make that.
It's gone. She found a roll of it, and she sent it to us.
How wonderful!
It to my wife, so we could put some of it up in the
wow.
In the theater, and so we did. We got it in the bar as you go into the theater. It's on the wall of the bar, and then there was some left over, and she wanted us to send it back because she had an idea for a project, something she wanted to do with it. And now I don't have any idea what that project was, and I would have loved to have helped follow through with it. I think her goal was to incorporate some of it somehow into Brookledge itself, but I don't know exactly what her idea there was. So I don't know. We'll probably come up with something. I'll have to talk to Erica about that. But man, I can't get over that. Christy and I just cried when we'd heard. And
she's had such an amazing life. You know that she and Bill and traveling the world and actually being such an ambassador to magic worldwide.
Incredible. And she, all the way up. We were with her in Rimini at the last FISM.
Oh, I was there.
Spent a lot of time, and she was still that ambassador that we know and love, and she just made everybody around her feel great, and everybody wanted to come visit the Magic Castle that she would talk to.
Right.
Just so great.
Yeah, she's missed. This has just been a horrible month, it seems like, with in particular February.
Disaster.
With so many people who have died, and just recently, of course, there was J.C. Doty and then Tom Mullica.
I mean, to lose Tom and JC is just it's just unconscionable.
It is. Jim Patton, just died. Jerry Menser, golly, and the year's just started, and that hopefully it'll get a lot better.
I don't know if you've heard about. I mean, he's with us still, but Paul Daniels.
And Paul, his incurable brain cancer tumor. Whew.
It's just. But I'll tell you what. When we lose folks that really meant something, I think. It reminds us how lucky we all were to be able to spend time with them, and that they were here with us.
Well said.
It also, I think, kind of reminds us that we can all, be the best versions of. We can all bring forward the best versions of all those people. Why we like those people, we can kind of. It's things we should be doing anyway, but it seems like we have to lose people to really let it come home.
Yeah, that's true, and it is very sad that has to be the way, that I had read something that Yoko Ono had said that was saying experiencing sadness and anger can make you feel more creative, and by being creative you can get beyond your pain or negativity.
I think there's a lot of truth to that. That's profound.
Yeah.
And I think the best of us, when we're suffering, we channel that into something productive.
We try. It's the only thing you can do. You just can't. You have to move on, and that's the best way to channel that like that. So, moving on to something I was going to say. Certainly, when you were saying that you were able to use the coins and the way that you'd palm them and then release them one at a time, I was wondering if that was some sort of an inherited type of a gene or something that had been passed down, because for those who are listening who may not know that you are the nephew then of Richard Valentine Pitchford, who was from Swansea, I believe, and then moved to Australia and found his success though here in the U.S. as Cardini.
Cardini, yeah. I don't think I'll ever be as good as Cardini. I don't think anyone will.
Who will?
But I'll tell you, Carol, Swan and Richard's daughter, occasionally will send me a photo or tell me that she sees something there. Now, as best as I can figure, my ancestor was a half brother to Richard. I think they shared the same mom.
Okay.
As best as we can figure. She was remarried after Richard was born and then produced some more offspring. And there were actually 7 brothers.
Richard had 7 brothers?
He had 6 brothers.
6 brothers. Oh, I'm sorry. So, yeah.
Yeah. And two of them were half brothers and 2 of them were step brothers.
My wife comes from a family, and her father is the oldest of 7 boys and 1 girl who was older than him.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Once you get going, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. I'll tell you, I don't know about the genetics of that, but I more than anything else, I think there's a point where every child has some exposure to magic. They get a magic set or a magic trick as a gift, or they see something that piques the curiosity there. Because it was actually my uncle, a guy named Samuel, that just like worshipped Cardini and always talked about him. And and was really, he loved that idea that he was in the family, and there's always that person in the family that worships somebody else in the family. But it's through Samuel that I really knew and learned about Cardini, and I think what that did is it sort of made it accessible, because when you first get that magic kit, some of it you're like, wow, I can do this and fool my mom or dad or my brother or sister or my friend. Some of it, you're just like, I have no idea how this works or how any of it can fool someone. Like when you get that first magic kit when you're a kid, you're like, some percentage of it's disappointing. Like, that's not going to fool anybody. Some percent of it feels like snake oil. Like, what? I don't even get this. But then there's like the couple of tricks that are kind of self-working that you kind of fool yourself with them a little bit. And you can, I'm going to show my mom this or whatever. And that's, I think most of the time that's where it stops for people. But because of the Cardini thing, I felt like, well, wait a minute. This dude, like, we're all the same here, and if this dude can figure it out, if this guy can figure it out, and he could be so great, like, I guess if I just keep at this, maybe I'll figure some of this out, and maybe I could do something cool too.
Now, you were born like 2 years before he died. You were born in 71, and he
right.
died in 73, so you obviously never
That's right.
remember anything about him.
That's correct. Yeah, I don't remember any, and I have a vague recollection of a family reunion somewhere when I was very, very young, where I believe Swan was there.
You vaguely remember her?
Yeah, it's not. I think I remember. I think I remember memories. I don't, because I think I was 6 years old at the time, so I don't actually think I have a real memory.
Right.
I think I have a remembered memory.
But you don't have any pictures of you as an infant with them?
No, I don't.
That'd be cool.
That would be really cool. Unfortunately, no.
Yeah.
No, mostly it's, just, and what's funny is as I became a magician, as I actually started to, take gigs and get paid and then got the gig at Wizards, I actually hid it. I didn't want people to know that there was a connection there because I didn't want to
have them draw a comparison.
Yeah, you never want to be compared to that.
Well, you never want somebody to say, well, you're not as good as your uncle.
You can't ever stand up to it. But two, I don't know. It's always been important to me that if I'm gonna do something, it's because I've earned it, and
Sure.
For a long time I never really shared it. And like my business cards when I was in Hollywood, they used my middle name. They just said Randy Stewart. And in hindsight, I'm glad I did that. It really wasn't until a few years ago when Carol decided that she was gonna, she had all of Cardini's acts in her home in Bakersfield in the Cardini room. And she decided that, she felt like she promised her mom that someday she would help make sure that was in some kind of museum or something. But life is life. And she decided that Potter and Potter had been doing the magic auctions, and they really figured out that the people that care about this stuff the most end up with it, and they often do great things with it. And so she decided, okay, I'll let it go. And I promised her I'm going to get the act, and I'm going to make that museum display.
Now, Carol was, just backing up a moment, was Swan and Richard's daughter. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. So go ahead. So you promised, yes, you were going to.
So I promised her that I would do whatever it takes to win the act at the auction, and that I would do that museum exhibit for it, and that I wanted to do it at the Magic Castle.
And this would have been like 2012.
Academy. Yes, a few years ago, I guess. And I did. But once I decided to do that, the cat was out of the bag within the magic community. So, everybody in the world then at that point knew that I was related to the guy. Fortunately, I'm not making a living off of magic anymore. So I don't feel like I'm trading on his name. I feel like I'm giving something to him rather than taking something away.
Well, that's the way I always felt about my Uncle Orson. I never liked to compare myself to Orson Welles. Just kidding. I have no relation to him.
That'd be amazing.
That would be amazing.
It's funny though.
I say that every once in a while.
It's probably better as a joke, because as a joke you probably get more mileage out of it. Because if it was true, it'd feel like it just
exactly
betrayed on his name. You know?
I occasionally do use that as a joke, and for those who know, they think, wait a minute, he has 2 E's in his last name, and you don't. It's like, okay, you got me. It's kind of like the joke with what is it? Van Gogh, where you cut off your ear or hold your hand over your ear. For those of you who know, it was his other ear, it was the wrong one. Cut off the left ear. Anyhow, so this was something that you then didn't inherit, but basically she had sold through Potter & Potter, and you made sure that it went to, a lot of it, of course, is there at the castle, and they put that where the Houdini exhibit was, right outside of the library there in the downstairs.
So I worked, once I called Milt up and told him, I got the whole act. Man. Let's do this. And he was so thrilled. He was so excited. And so he and I started working on a plan with some of the other folks at the Academy and at his company, Magic Castle Inc. And we were able to get that exhibit built.
It is fantastic. I like the little video, and of course to see that costume that is there with both Cardini and Swan. I think that's very cool. And right across from the W.C. Fields exhibit, it's just it's beautiful. It's very well done. Now, did you keep some of the pieces as well, so you have in your personal collection there at your home?
Everything that's in the act, I made sure to give to everyone else. I do have some things, but. Like, for example, I have a lot of decks of those Podo playing cards. But the actual cards that are in his hand in that exhibit, that's from the deck, the last cards he ever performed with, that Swan kept. Those gloves are the last gloves he ever performed with. Obviously, over the years, he probably had lots of sets of gloves, but those are the last ones. And that costume, and the costumes, of course, were the ones that he used in his act, and that were also the ones that he wore for the only televised performance there during Festival of Magic. But I have a few things. I've got lots of decks of cards. I've got he burned through about 3 decks per performance.
Wow.
There's about one of them are burned in the exhibit, so I've got a couple. I still have a bunch of cards from his last performance. I've given some of those cards as gifts. I recently gave a set of cards. I put them in a nice frame with a plaque to David Copperfield. I was in Vegas recently, and he knew I was going to be there, so he invited me to come over and look at some of his collection.
Did you go to his museum?
Yeah, it's incredible.
That's on my bucket list, man. I really want to see that.
It's incredible. I've got to go back. He has a lot of Cardini stuff.
Oh.
I spent some time. He has some manuscripts where the whole act is typed out in detail, including methods. And he let me photograph all of those manuscripts, but I want to go back and spend some more time with it. David hasn't. He told me that he hasn't had time to just scour and scrutinize everything, and also it might be likely that because I spent more time thinking about Cardini than he has. Probably I might be able to notice some things or help him understand more about what he's got there. So he asked me if I'd come back and help him with that, and of course it'd be a treat for me. So we'll have to work that out. But man, if you ever get a chance, David's got some incredible stuff. I mean, just a mind-boggling collection. What was
the most impressive thing that you saw?
He's got a lot of things in this room that it's a sealed safe room that you punch in a key code and a vault door opens, and inside, back in the day, there were no magicians performing on stages. It was all busking. It was fakirs in the marketplace, or guys on the streets of London doing cups and balls, right? And Houdin really is why we're all here,
Mm-hmm.
And when he invented the broom suspension, that was what got him onto the stage, and really is what started it all for all of us.
Right.
David has Houdin's original broom suspension. Like, he just handed it to me. It's like I'm holding this thing in my hand, operating the gimmick and the mechanism, going, wow, this is why we're all here. It's just astonishing.
I've been to.
You feel the weight of the history when you.
That's a good way of putting it. Feeling the weight of history. That that's the original shoulders that everyone else has stood on.
That's correct. Yeah. Literally, it's a broom suspension.
Have you ever visited Ken Klosterman's collection in his home?
I haven't. I've heard about it, and I intend to.
That's an awesome thing, too. There again, speaking of some old things, where he has the original Houdon's light heavy chest. And to pick that up, I mean, he says, go ahead, Scott, pick it up. It's like, oh, I know I can't. He said, go ahead. And they said, okay, just a minute. And he flips, he steps on something. Now pick it up, you know.
The lore with that one is great. That's a great piece.
Wow. Yeah, you got to go and see that sometime. But yeah, I would love to see Copperfield's thing. So you want to go back and actually do some more research. Are you going to write a book or something? Or just interest you?
Well, I do think there should be another book. You know, there's a great Cardini book.
Oh, Todd Carr had. Hmm?
Yeah, no, there's the Fisher book, which is really substantial.
Okay.
I've been talking to Richard Kaufman about it, who I think will want to do it someday, and there's some things that really need to be in there. Richard's another guy I gave some of the cards. Richard Kaufman, I gave him some of the cards from the last deck, the last cards that Cardini ever performed with. Mm-hmm. I gave him a set.
Wow.
I think I gave him a Royal Flush set, actually.
That's pretty cool.
But yeah, that could happen, and obviously David has a lot of material, and I have some, and there's a lot of other collectors that have some great material that can be useful to study and will help in that effort.
You know, speaking of giving somebody something, again, going back to Ken Klosterman's collection, that he showed me some receipt. It was a receipt book of checks that Howard Thurston had written to people, whether it was for, I don't know, the landlord or mortgage or whatever, or for his assistants and whatnot. And he said, go ahead and take a look through there. And he just a bunch of pages with his original signature and everything that were, again, from the receipts. And because he said Harry Anderson was just here recently, and he said he found a check that was written to someone named Harry Anderson. So he said, I just gave it to him. And he said, if you find one that's named Scott Wells, go ahead. And I didn't, but he said, if you want something else. And so I've got a framed receipt right now on my wall of, something that he had signed, I think was kind of cool. So are there other people who have Cardini collections? Are you looking to try to acquire more? I mean, do you want to eventually be the guy, or?
Yeah, I'm not actually a collector. I did that because I did the museum display because that stuff should be shared.
Absolutely.
I've been privileged enough to look at some great collections, and I think it's anyone that's willing to invest their resources to preserve our history is awesome.
Right.
But if I think many of us, if we could wave a magic wand, I think the dream would be that some of this stuff goes in a publicly accessible museum, at least the stuff that isn't tipping too much, isn't giving away too many secrets, sure, but is helping that history stay alive. And I think the clubhouse for the Academy, the Magic Castle, is just the exact right place.
I agree, because there are so many people who come through there, and you got a good point then, Randy, that you don't want to have something like here was so-and-so's thumb tip or something, because there are so many people who are non-magicians who are members as well as guests who come through there, and you want them to appreciate the value of the artists that have gone before, all these great magicians, and not how they did it, but what they look like.
Yeah, and what they brought to the art.
Right.
In the display, one tough call I made, a Cardini thread reel. He made a few of these thread reels into wristwatches, and they're very, very valuable and rare. And his personal thread reel that he used for several effects in his act and for other routines that he did, I put it on display there. The card that's included describes it as a utility reel. It doesn't use the word thread, and just says which assists in accomplishing several effects. It doesn't go into any detail on what you can do with the thread. But those kinds of decisions are tricky. So that's where it blurs the line, because there are a lot of lay people that visit the clubhouse of the Academy, and when you go to the Magic Castle and you're a lay person, you kind of want to see some of these artifacts, and you're hoping to get a tip, of some of the history, or some of the secrets.
Right?
But you don't, you also don't want, you don't want to make it too easy for folks.
Right.
The truth is, the secrets are available to everyone. If someone's willing to put the effort in, the secrets are available to us.
Correct.
And now in the information age, if someone's willing to spend some time on Google and starts to learn what sort of things to search for, you can learn a tremendous amount of actual methods. And we know from watching The Best Magic that the methods are just part of the story. And the fact that very studied magicians can still be fooled tells us the methods aren't everything. But that said, we do know how special that feeling of wonder is, and how our medium depends upon that kind of forced impossibility, like dragging someone down this line of logic and then twisting it, exploiting our human vulnerabilities and reasoning, and exploiting our limitations of perception, but doing it in a way that's playful and fun and not dangerous to the audience, not and that has to be protected,
right?
Or that the magic is literally lost.
Well, you look at someone, for an example, let's say like Jeff Hobson, who sells his egg bag. He can sell 1 million egg bags, but nobody's going to perform it exactly like him. I mean, exactly. He's got the perfect, it's very good. Or Matt King, you name it. There's several people who might sell something, but they cannot have the character of the individual originator.
Yes, yeah.
Do you have any stories or anything that you recall that you had heard from Carol or been passed down from Swan and Richard that were about them that have not been shared before? Carol sent me some things that I don't think she was onto this, but it led me to notice some things. I found, there's a story, there's a newspaper clipping from an interview that Cardini did when he was really starting to get there, and his story is that he was in World War One, and he was injured in World War One, and he was a soldier in the trenches. That's all true, and we know how rough it was for those guys. Yeah. In the interview, he tells the story that when he was in the trenches, cold, he had to leave his gloves on, and he would practice with his cards while in the trenches, and that's how he learned how to manipulate cards with gloves on. And it's a great story, and it's exceptionally great in the context when he was promoting and doing these interviews. And there's probably some truth there, but I don't know if you've ever seen what a pair of British Army-issued World War I trench gloves look like, or what they feel like when you wear them. But these are not gloves you could really use for manipulation. I would think that they'd be very heavy woolen gloves. Possible. It's not. They're not the right thing. Right. The other. So what I noticed was I was reading that, and I loved it because it gave me some insight into Cardini's style. Every great magician also has to learn how to be a promoter and a self-promoter, which is impossible, right? It feels so self-aggrandizing to talk about oneself, sure, right? And so different magicians have learned how to tactics to make it seem that other folks are making the representations, or to make representations themselves in a way that's both bold but humble enough where we're not offended by the claims, right? Mm-hmm. He masterfully, you read his words and you just want to love the man, and you want to see and respect what he's going to bring to the table. As someone who's done this, and magicians who've done this, you could recognize that was a crafted and learned response, and that was a crafted and learned pitch. It was a developed pitch. It was an evolved pitch. And so I was looking at some photos that Carol had given me, that Swan had kept, and there was some really old photos. There's a photo of him when he's in his early 20s. He might even not even be 20 yet. He might be 19. And he's doing, he's manipulating cards, and he's wearing black gloves, and he's using a black inked
kind of club special style back design on the cards, so that there's a lot of ink and it's black.
Yeah.
And he's back palming them in a way where when he produces them, you see their faces. So they're back palmed where the backs of the cards are clipped, and the black gloves, of course, are helping to conceal what a deep clip he's using. Because he's holding out a lot of cards, much more than I think was standard at that time. And so the black glove was part of the method. It helped conceal how many cards he was back palming. Then I found another series of photos that are later, probably like 23, 24 years old. Oh, in the earlier photo, by the way, he had a black hat as well. No monocle. Later, no hat, no gloves, barehanded. He's producing, he's got probably 5 cards back palming, and it's a sequence photograph. And through it, it's like 10 photographs showing the process of him producing a single card. No gloves at all. And by the way, those first cards, those club specials, they're poker size. These cards now are bridge sized cards.
Okay.
As we know, where he landed was he's using those bridge sized podos, and he was using white gloves. And my hypothesis is that he switched to the white gloves because he liked to produce the fans showing the backs of the podos a lot. The backs, when fanned, are beautiful. And you can fan them in 4 different directions, each time providing a really cool different pattern. And I have some notes of some of his early acts where he would spend a good 6 minutes just fanning cards and showing them from, like, it's more artistry, it's more performance art than magic. In earlier versions of his routine.
That was before that he started doing the drunk act, I assume.
Yeah. And it's not really, it's maybe tipsy, but he's surprised by the magic, and I think in this character so strong there. My hypothesis in that is the gloves started as a method, and they came and went, and then that last thing that I mentioned where he's finally using white gloves, he doesn't have the monocle and the top hat yet. Later that's added, and you can feel the evolution and the development of this character over the course of his early career. And my hypothesis is that that although he may have tried manipulating some cards at some point, or did a card trick in World War II with in World War I in the trenches with the gloves on, I don't think that's where he learned to back palm cards and palm cards with gloves. I think that was evolved over the course of the development of the
That makes sense. I would think that you would begin, obviously, with the very rudiments, and then later say, if I could do it with that, maybe I'll try something else, and then maybe with some thinner gloves, some cotton gloves or whatever, and so it would evolve. So that certainly makes sense. I would agree with that about this.
The story is so good and so sticky that it's just part of the legend and the lore of who the man was now. But and I don't. And when I was looking at some of that evidence and I was thinking about that, as from a magician's point of view, it not only doesn't take away, I'm actually more impressed with him.
Yeah.
Thinking about him that way. I think it's a less interesting story for a layperson. So I think when he's actually living, using this as his livelihood, the idea that he suffered through World War I and learned the craft because of the conditions, I think that's an awesome story for that purpose. But from a magician's point of view, we know how much work this stuff is, and we know what it takes to develop an act like Cardini's, and few of us have ever even gotten close.
Right.
And to realize that it was something that he had developed and perfected over years is I think elevates him as a professional.
As a minor point, something is kind of I'm interested in. What happened to him as far as his injury? Do you have any idea what his problem was, or how he was injured in World War I?
You know what? I do know that, but I can't recall it. I actually have some records of that. I can't recall it though, and I don't want to get it wrong.
Yeah, it's a minor point, but I'm kind of curious.
Yeah, there was something. I want to say something with his knee. I don't know that he. I don't know that he was, hit with bullets, but I think there was some concussion and some shrapnel or something. But I don't want to get it wrong, because one of my problems is I make video games. One of the video game franchises that we've created is a franchise called Brothers in Arms, which is about soldiers in war.
Okay.
And I could very well be conflating memories here, and our memories suck. So please, I think I should go back and look at. But I do. There are records of some records of that. There are some notes of that.
Okay. Well, going off on a different tangent here, you had alluded to Richard Kaufman a little bit earlier, and you had sent him some of these cards. I wanted to ask you, I understand that you are the new owner of Genii Magazine.
Oh, yeah. Well,
can you tell me something about that?
Richard, well, we haven't really talked about this publicly yet, but there's Richard and I are working on that, and what Genii is such an important
Absolutely
thing. When the Larsons created it 80 years ago, it had all the best intentions.
Well, it started out as the Gen, and then whenever that they added the two I's as opposed to an IE like Genii, that was what I think it was supposed to be as the Gen 2 with the two I's, Gen I. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so, but that history is so important, and Richard, I don't know if you've seen his new tenuism. The book, do you know tenuism?
No, I have not seen the book, but I've got some tenual things I'm familiar with.
Okay, so Richard created these tomes called Tenuism,
okay,
2 volumes, and it's both a history of Tenyo and a catalog of everything they've ever produced. It includes handlings and methods that are beyond what anyone ever considered with many of these props. There's interviews with the creators, the president of Tenyo before he died. I mean, it is just these volumes, they weigh like 40 pounds together in this beautiful box.
Wow.
Richard's been, when I asked Richard, I looked at this and I said, Richard, this is incredible, when he was showing me the work before it had been printed, and he said, it's the work of a madman. and there's something very unique and rare about Richard Kaufman, that he wants to keep creating books, and I think the magic community needs him to keep creating books. He has been a great custodian of Genii Magazine. It is an impossible job and
no question,
unparalleled legacy.
Right.
And over the 17 years or so that he's been doing it, he's had to learn how to do it. And he'll be the first to tell you that at first, as he was figuring this out, it was difficult, and sometimes he would make people unhappy. But he learned how to do it, and he's done a great job. Mm-hmm. But he knows he cannot be the custodian of Genii forever. And so he called me and asked me what I thought, and I was very honored to get the call, and so Richard and I will work together on Genii for years. Nothing's going to change in any, only changes for the good. I'll be investing more in it, actually. But
you're not moving it to Dallas area or anything.
We're not going to. This isn't. And to be fair, he and I haven't contemplated it yet how to talk about this, because as of right now, there's no difference. It's just Genii Magazine now. There's someone with some money that can help, right?
Yeah.
That's all.
That's what I was thinking about magazines in general. Certainly, you look at the magazine industry, not just the magic magazine industry, but in general, it seems like with advertising dollars falling, that unless you have some sort of investor, I don't know how it can really continue.
Media is important, and
absolutely,
Genii is important, and there will be some new things that the magazine will exist and will continue to exist, of course. And Richard's right there to do it. What we're going to do is we're going to help Genii live on forever. And so we're crafting that strategy right now. But the reason why I think he called me is because he knows how profoundly attached I am to the magazine's history, mm-hmm. how much love I have for the Larson family. And how important I know it all is. But he also knows that through because I was a magician and now make video games, that I have some understanding of technology and how media is progressing in the digital age that could be of use to a magazine that needs a future. And so we're seeing how our respective talents and love for what this is and what it must continue to be and what it could become all converge to help Genii have the best future it's ever had. And it's very, very important to Richard that Genii lives on. That he said from the beginning that he is merely the custodian of Genii right now.
Right.
And that what a humble way to think about it.
That's very true. And of course, that Magic Magazine is another magazine that has come along within the last 25 years, whereas Genii has
exactly 25 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess will I see you in Las Vegas? You gonna be there at the Magic Live?
Sometimes it's difficult. I want to be. Unfortunately my main job sometimes prevents me from going to every Magic convention that I like to go to. But Stan's got a great thing going on there, and I actually just spent some time with him. I made it clear to Stan that anything that we try, that if he wants access to the things that we try that help Genii, if he wants access to that to help Magic Magazine be better, that he should consider me an ally in that. So
that's great. So you're standing behind him if he needs help.
Absolutely.
Well.
I think that whatever furthers our art and our medium is helpful to it.
That's wonderful. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of that, and then moving on to the next thing and continuing about the gaming industry and what you're doing, I understand that there's some sort of a large facility that you're going to be building in the Dallas-Fort Worth area?
We actually we just moved into it. It's our new headquarters in Frisco, Texas. We had been in Plano, Texas for 15 years, and we just moved into our new headquarters in Frisco, and it's amazing. It's such an upgrade. It's a brand new building that we built specifically to become our new headquarters. And, we've got 100,000 square feet that we're already in, and we can expand to add another 60 to that. And it's in this awesome area in downtown Frisco. So there's a community here, and there's restaurants and food nearby, and it's just an awesome place.
It's gotten to be a pretty thriving area, certainly. It's grown up. I lived in Coppell for about 6 years, so I'm very familiar.
Yeah, if you Google the $5 billion mile, that's become a term to describe what's happening in this part of Frisco, Texas right now. And it's actually a misnomer. Between the Dallas Cowboy headquarters that have moved here and some of these there's some other massive projects.
Oh, they're not in Valley Ranch anymore?
It's actually, no, their new headquarters is being constructed right now. I'm looking at it outside my window.
And the Stars too? Are the Stars going to move up there?
I don't know. They have a facility here up in Frisco, just a couple miles down the road. But between all of these projects, it's actually about $6.5 billion of development going on right now in this area. And I'm building a new house across the street from our studio, so my commute will be like 5 minutes. I also helped. There's these guys that have been collecting video game memorabilia. Mm-hmm. And so my wife and I invested, and I got the city involved in establishing the National Video Game Museum here, just a quarter mile from our office.
Yeah.
And that's just again, it's giving back. I've been very fortunate, and we've been very successful making interactive entertainment, which is a different kind of magic, and it's also an important medium and an important art form, and it's surprising the similarities between video games and magic. The advantages that I've had as a magician making interactive entertainment are innumerable. So we helped that museum get started, and that's really awesome, and it just. I don't know.
Now, within that museum or that area, I understand, or correct me if I'm wrong, are you going to have a magic theater or someplace for live entertainment as well?
So no, my house has a theater.
Okay, so you're talking about your Brookledge too, kind of a thing.
So the in the house we've created, Brookledge was our model. We've got higher ceilings because we love the allied arts, and I want our juggling friends to be able to have all the room in the world to do impossible things.
So Charlie Fry can come out.
Yeah, that's right. Charlie's a great magician,
Isn't
too.
he, though? Yeah.
But yeah, he's just an incredible performer all the way around. But yeah, we'll be hosting variety art shows. And Erica's taught us a lot, taught my wife and I a lot about how she's cultivated the variety art scene around Brookledge and the Brook Follies.
Right.
And she's offered to, and we've begged for her to help us out here, and we've created some allies here in the area that we're gonna build a community around, and we'll start with the theater. I have some ambitions beyond that, but we need to learn some things first. The theater will be part of it. We have a restaurant and bar that's video game themed, that's in the ground floor of our building, that's 7,500 square feet, seats 300 people, that's going to teach us a lot about that kind of business. And also my wife's opening a coffee shop, which will teach us more.
Right.
And the coffee shop has a retail component as well. So that we're going to learn a lot of stuff through these experiences. Those might equip us for bigger steps.
You might consider talking to Kerry Pollock. He was one.
Kerry's a dear friend of mine, and
Good.
in fact, he's actually built some special custom effects that are in my home theater.
Good.
And Kerry and I are in deep cahoots.
He's a great guy. I love that man.
Kerry is outstanding. A brilliant creator and inventor, but also
engineer.
Just a nice guy. Yeah, an engineer, and I like him a lot.
Yeah, good. So you're already hooked up then. I don't need to.
Yeah,
Okay.
Kerry's great. There's some other folks too. I very, very briefly. I have this idea for an illusion that basically incorporates a Pepper's Ghost inside of an infinity mirror. And my wife and I built a prototype of this, and I mentioned it to Jim Steinmeier, and we have to find some time because I think he can be the one to help bring this one across the finish line and really do something great with it.
Wow.
And so we'll build something for real. Hopefully, I will pay him whatever it takes, but I want to have something for real first that we build on a kind of a humble level that we can do in the theater in the house, and then later incorporate that into some other kinds of things.
Wow.
But Jim's a genius, and he's thought about some of those approaches and problems maybe more than anyone else on the planet. So.
Well, listen, that sounds great, and I appreciate your time, and you have given us a lot of it. I know you're a busy man, and it's kind of late in the evening here after you've had meetings all day long.
Oh, it's great. It's been a pleasure to chat with you.
Let me just ask you, as we start to close here, the name of my podcast is called The Magic Word. So my question to you then, Randy, is what is your philosophy? What would you say to other people that you would live by? What's important? It wouldn't have to be necessarily a word. It could be a phrase. Your philosophy. What's important to you?
Every morning when we wake up, we have to decide how much of our day we're going to spend consuming the kinds of awesome things that other people have created, or create new things ourselves that we can offer to other people. And that balance is one of the most challenging things. But if each of us can do both, the world will be great and will be greater every day.
Wow. Well said. That's good. Well, I thank you very much. And so for the Magic Word podcast, that was Randy Pitchford. And this is Scotty out. So I want to thank Randy Pitchford for being my guest this week on the Magic Word podcast, and I hope that you guys learned a lot right there about history and also some things that may be happening in the future as well. Thanks, Randy, for your time and for sharing all of those words of wisdom. So now it's time to come to the conclusion of our podcast, in which I will announce the winner of last week's drawing. Thanks to Ted and Marion Outerbridge, they offered a lecture bundle, which includes all of the things that they sell in their lecture, which is valued at $135. And the winner is Richard Tremblay. And I will be contacting Ted and Marion, and they will get in touch with you to get your address and get that out to you straight away. Thank you, Richard, for entering, and congratulations to you. And I also want to thank all the rest of the listeners who have entered the contest, but just because you didn't win this week or in a previous contest, we have another exciting contest that's coming up right now. Thanks again to Randy Pitchford. He has generously agreed to donate a card from the Podo deck. That is one of the cards that you heard him talking about in this podcast. And it was one that was used by Cardini and left on the floor. So it was one that could have been stepped on, been certainly used in his show, and has some definite historical and collectible value. He is also promising that he will have this framed and sent to me, and then I will in turn send it out to whoever the winner is of this week's contest. I've got a link on the bottom of the podcast blog here. If you go to themagicwordpodcast.com and look up this episode number 279, you'll see the way that you can enter the contest on the bottom, and we will then have a random drawing, and perhaps you could be the winner of this collectible item. He will also be signing the back of the frame and giving kind of a letter of authenticity, if you will, to let you know that this was and is something that was used by Cardini and from the Cardini collection. Entering contests like this is just one of the many benefits of listening to the Magic Word on a regular basis. I know that some of you are not able to listen to these every week as they come out and they are fresh, and if you're not, then this is your loss. You may not get an opportunity to jump into getting into a contest until it's too late and after the contest has already been concluded. So again, that's all the more reason for you to subscribe and listen regularly to the Magic Word. All you need to do is to go to themagicwordpodcast.com and subscribe, and it will be sent directly to your phone and or to your smart instrument or a computer. However, of course, this is available through iTunes, and you could subscribe to the podcast easily through there as well. So be sure to tune in each week and listen and see what kind of new stuff that we're going to be having coming up in the future. We've got some things that I think you will enjoy. I've already spoken with a couple of guys who I've got recorded and have offered some, well, I'm not going to even tell you. You'll have to listen to future weeks, and also to a future week to see who's going to win this Podo card from Randy Pitchford. So, until next time, stay well, get booked, and decide how much of today you will spend consuming the creations of others and how much you will create yourself. This is Scotty out.